Hey, welcome back to Brighter Rays. Now, this week we are starting a new study and we're heading into the book of Proverbs. So, our subject is the whole book. We're going to be looking at it. Most of us are familiar with different parts of the book. We probably have a few, short proverbs that we have memorized, or we know like Proverbs 31 about the woman that's mentioned there. So we're somewhat familiar with the book, I think. Hopefully a number of us have some of the ideas that are in the book memorized. We know some of it. We know some of the short ones, some of our favorite proverbs. We probably have a few of those that we know and have memorized. But so we're going to go into this book and study it at a greater length and greater detail and see what we find. How long will we be in this study? That's a great question. We can talk more about that in a minute when we look at the structure of the book, but my plan is to go through the first major section of the book, which is chapters 1 through 10, and then we'll switch to a more topical approach, I think, as we go through the shorter form Proverbs, because there's, 1 through 10 is pretty long. There's passages that are all connected together, but then you get to the short form Proverbs, and there's some loose connections there, but there's a lot more that we can do, kind of bringing the different topics together of different proverbs that all speak about the same kind of idea. So we could probably do that, and that makes sense to me. And because if we took each proverb as it comes, one at a time, that would take a long time to do. And do we have the patience for that? I don't know. But so let's do ones that we need to do that connect all these different ideas. There's main topics that the book of Proverbs cover. And so that's what we're going to try to do, is hit those main topics, like children. There's other things, but we'll go 1 through 10 in order. And then from there, we'll see what happens. We might cover some of the ideas again that we covered in 1 through 10 in some of the other ones, but there's a lot of other stuff. So there might be a little repetition here as we go through this, but hopefully not too much, but that's the plan so far. So I've read that some preachers look at the chapter divisions of Proverbs and see, there's 31. So that naturally leads to reading Proverbs once a month, right? Because you can read one chapter a day. Maybe you have to read 2 for the shorter months. But for the most part, you could read a chapter a day, and then you'd read the entire book of Proverbs every month. Now, a chapter of Proverbs is not that hard to read. Some of them are shorter than others, but that's a good practice, I think. It's very doable, and you would go through the book about a dozen times in 1 year. So, some people that struggle reading the Bible all the way through, maybe this is a good challenge for those people to take on, because you're just reading the book of Proverbs, but you're going to read it 12 times in 1 year. And you really get that wisdom to sink in and to really understand some of these things. You need to read it more once. You need to meditate, and that means you need to go over it more than once. Now, in our time this week, we're going to cover 5 things with you this week. And I want to lay some groundwork before we move into the actual text of Proverbs. We want to lay the background information so we get an idea of what we're going to be going through here. So there are some key ideas that we will return to over and over, or need to keep in mind as we go throughout the study of this book. So the main points are the form of literature that we're going to be looking at. What is a proverb kind of idea? The author who wrote the proverbs, or authors, as we should say. The purpose of this book. The Bible, some of the books of the Bible tell us actually why they're there. Proverbs is one of those. Number 4, the structure. We'll just briefly look at that, at the structure of the book, how it's set up, because it's not like other books. It's different. And then finally, we're going to ask the question, who is this for? Why are we looking at this? Who is the book of Proverbs written for? Who gets something out of it? So we're going to be looking at those 5 main things. So next time we'll take a look at the beginning one, the form of literature, and talk about that. So I'll see you back here next time for that.